You're listening to Wild, Hot and Healing, the space where growth gets messy, power gets claimed and healing gets very real. So if you're ready to own your magic, move through your shit and create a life that is fire from the inside out, then you are in exactly the right place. It's time to get wild, it's time to get hot, and it's time to heal. So glad you're here. So it was summer and I didn't know it at the time, but I was about to walk into the deepest, darkest night of the soul that I have ever had. Everything that I thought I knew around me was about to crumble. Everything that I held dear and close was about to fall away. Even my identity of who I thought I was and who I believed I was in the world and what other people saw me as was about to crumble. On the 8th of the 8th, I sat down on my mat. And I've written here in my journal, as I read it out to you, that I didn't really want to sit down today, but it's the Lionsgate portal. And I sit down every year and something magical happens. So I better do it this year, not that I think anything's going to work. So I've written down that I've meditated, and I remember doing a meditation, a little bit of stretching, lighting a candle. And then, as I always do, I get my cards out, I decide which pack I'm going to pull from, and I pull a card. And I pulled a card that day. And I've written in my journal, I've pulled a card, Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess of rage and courage and transformation. I don't know who she is. I need to research her. And then I go on to really opening up about how I'm feeling at the time, how I'm grieving this version of me that I thought existed. And at the time I was going through the possibility of getting a diagnosis with ADHD, which maybe doesn't sound like such a big deal for some people, but my God, I was in grief. I've always explored and thought I resonate with ADHD, but it wasn't until that year that I realized that, yeah, literally that's me. My whole life suddenly had a different turn on it when I looked at school, when I looked at how people treated me. And I went through this whole process of, do people look at me differently? Do people treat me differently because they know and I didn't know? Does everyone know that there's something different about me and I don't know it? There were so many questions that were going through my head, and I've journaled just what I was feeling, how dark my thoughts were getting, how sad I felt, how unsupported I felt, how I was noticing cracks in friendships and business and all sorts of things that were happening. And yeah, I just put, I guess I need to read up what this card means. And I never followed through. I never looked up what Sekhmet, the card, meant. But the next 7 months was some of the hardest that I've ever been through in my life. Everything was crumbled. I was stripped bare and I was faced into every shadow. I was having to face things from my past, things from my childhood, triggers from my childhood, things that I was having to look into that I'd forgotten had even happened. Dive deep into therapy, into psychotherapy, with a psychotherapist to really unpick and learn where some stuff that was happening to me in my life, why it was triggering me so much, where it was coming from. And then the crumble started to happen. Everything that I thought I knew crumbled away. My life was about to change in a massive, dramatic way. And then 1 year later, on the 8th of the 8th, I go back through my journal, as I always do, to see what I'd journaled on the year before, on the 8th of the 8th. And I realised that I had pulled Sekhmet's card. And the reason that is important is because 7 months after I had pulled Sekhmet's card on the 8th of the 8th, I ended up stood, barefaced, bare feet, at 3 a.m. in her temple, staring into her eyes with tears streaming down my face, where I was about to be initiated into the goddess path with my heart ripped wide open in an experience of a lifetime. And that is the power of the Lionsgate portal. So what is the Lionsgate portal? It happens on the 8th of the 8th every year, and it is in an ancient alignment of Sirius, the spiritual sun, which is the brightest star in the sky, and it lines up perfectly with the sun in Leo and Orion's belt, and it forms a metaphorical gate of energy between the earth and the cosmos. And this time, the 8th of the 8th, is believed to be a time of spiritual downloads, of creative rebirth, of inner shifts, connecting to the divine feminine energy. And it is linked to Sekhmet, Isis, the goddess of fertility, and Bastet, a lion, a sun, and a divine feminine goddess in Egyptian mythology. And it's not just astrology woo, it's about energetic positioning, because when it rises, it literally calls us into higher consciousness, but only if we are paying attention. The pyramids in Egypt align up perfectly at this time of the year, and with the Sphinx, which I believe was never a sphinx. I believe that was originally the head of a lion. And now when you next look at the sphinx, you're gonna see what I'm saying. Those paws are lion's paws. That head is far too small for the rest of the body. And there's so much evidence out there that Egypt was actually underwater at some point, and you can see the waterline even on the sphinx, and that it wore away the face of the lion, and that more modern Egyptians that we know recarved it into the face of a sphinx, but actually that was always the head of the lion. And at the Lion's Gate portal, the three pyramids align up perfectly with Sirius in the sky, and the lion, Sphinx, the lion, is pointing directly at it. And why do they just not want us to know? At this time of year, it is such a powerful, profound time. Like, why would the Egyptians build some pyramids to perfectly align up with those stars in the sky if it wasn't important? Like, why would they go to the effort of lining them up with like the precision that they are lined up? They say that you cannot achieve even now with modern technology. Now, my beliefs on how I believe the pyramids were built need to be maybe saved for another podcast, because I believe they were far more advanced than us, but they are lined up perfectly. And people believe, rumor has it, that the Great Pyramid originally had a gold tip on the top, and no one knows where the gold tip is. Again, I have my beliefs where it is, but the gold tip is not on top of the pyramid. And some people believe, I believe, that there was, when those stars lined up, there was a powerful transmission that was able to be channeled energy into the earth, into the pyramids at that time, and that alignment. And people say, if it's such a big deal, then why don't we know about it? Actually, around the 8th of the 8th, there is always a massive global distraction. There's always, whether it's the Olympics, whether it's celebrity scandals, whether it's tech launches, there is so much that happens around this date to distract us from actually feeling our power. And most people, if you keep a journal, if you look back on what's happened around the 8th of the 8th, it may not be on the exact day, but anything between the 28th of July and the 10th of August, have a look back, get curious. Has something happened? Has there been a massive shift? Like, a shift doesn't always, it could be something massively positive. Like, did you just have this awakening? Did you change? Did you suddenly realize that you were living out of alignment? Things crumble away? Did things fall together? Has something happened around that time? And most people, when I get them to look back, they'll be like, Vic, yeah, oh my goodness, our house fell through on the 8th of the 8th and we were absolutely gutted. And then 6 months later, we found out that house got flooded, or there's just like things happen. So get curious, and things are distracting us around this time because the energy is that powerful. This is what I believe. And the Olympics closing ceremony was on the 8th of the 8th, and energy is real. If you are watching fireworks and medals, you are not listening to your soul. And spiritual hashtags, which I found this out the other day, spiritual hashtags often get shadow banned at this time of year. So feminine awakening is suppressed by making us too tired, too busy, or too inflamed to notice. Like, you don't need a conspiracy theory to see the truth. Most people are too busy or burnt out to hear their inner voice, and that's the point. They numb you out with bad news. They numb you out with a distraction. They numb you out by feeding you foods that are going to stop you from really being able to connect and listen to your soul. Because when you clean up your diet, when I did a detox for the first time, that is when I first started being able to receive light language, because my system was so clear when I cleared all the junk out. So let me tell you, the food, everything out there that we are being distracted with is keeping us from being able to sense and feel this feeling that's around. And we are deep into now Leo season. and Leo is the lion. Leo is expressive, self-focused and creative and bold, and the lion's gate sits right at the turning point, the cocoon to the butterfly moment. So think of the 8th like a spiritual new year. August is a perfect time to choose to keep hiding or to keep shining. The 8th of the 8th is the most powerful time to manifest. Now, if I take you back to the story I told you at the beginning of the podcast, what happened, like why did I end up in Sekhmet's temple? Like I said, was going through the most horrendous crumble of my life. Everything I knew was literally falling away, and it was the hardest time of my life, actually. And in the January, I just got this message from a mentor whose business mastermind I was in saying, do you want to come to Egypt? And nothing made sense about it. The price did not make sense. Everything was just like, nah, Vic, you shouldn't be going. And I just went, yeah, okay. I didn't even read the itinerary. I just knew that it'll be good. It's 10 days. The price was telling me that we were going to be staying in some nice hotels. So fuck it, why not? And this trip was everything and life-changing. It was rituals, private ceremonies, sacred temples, barefoot walks. And then one morning we started the day at 2 a.m. in absolute darkness to head to the temple of Karnak. So we arrive in complete darkness. The guards let us in. We're walking through this temple in absolute pitch black, nothing but torchlight, and this eerie kind of feeling about it, this private ceremony that we're about to attend, until we arrive at this temple inside the Temple of Peter. So we're waiting outside for the ceremony leader to go in and get set up. And we're invited into this room, this tiny room that was going to hold about 12 of us. And it's red hot in there, absolutely boiling as soon as you go in. You can feel the heat. And all you can see is a couple of candles, and you can make out a black granite statue in front of you. So we all somehow take a seat on the floor. We're all shuffling about, trying to get comfortable. And the ceremony begins. In that ceremony, we are invited to picture the head of Sekhmet, the lion face goddess, as she is the fierce goddess, the dark goddess who will always want blood. Like, she wants a sacrifice to give you what you need, and you've got to sacrifice something to get what you need from her. And she will give you what you need, but there's got to be blood along the way. So I'm sat in this temple. I'm metaphorically inside her belly. I've been swallowed by the goddess. And I look up as the sun starts to just cascade through this tiny hole in the ceiling. And I notice it's the goddess, Sekhmet. She's there in front of me. She's in front of me. I can see her, and I am ripped wide open. I am crying my eyes out as she puts me through everything that I'd been through the last 7 months. She replays for me. But worse, I remember saying, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? Why? And it's because Sekhmet wants blood. Sekhmet made me have a huge sacrifice in my life for me to be able to experience what was to come, to be able to stand in that temple and meet her. Now, if the things hadn't crumbled the way I had, I would not have been in that temple. There's more to the story I will share another time, but I would not have been in the temple had some of the things around me not crumbled as they had. Because this thing crumbled was the exact reason why I was able to be in that temple on that day. And it wasn't until I came out of the temple did I look back at my journal to see what I'd pulled the year before and notice that I'd pulled Sekhmet's card exactly 7 months before I ended up in her temple, staring into her face with tears streaming down my eyes and my heart ripped wide open as she showed me exactly why she had drawn blood metaphorically from my life for me to be able to experience what I experienced, to be put onto the goddess path, to experience a whole new way of living, a whole new way of life. And that is the power of the Lionsgate Temple, the Lionsgate Portal. She was the mistress of the dead, a warrior and a healer who breathed fire yet brought balance. I did not end up in some random spot. I ended up exactly where Sekhmet was honoured by the ancient Egyptians. This wasn't a tourist moment. This was an ancestral memory, a healing energy carved in stone, carved into my heart forevermore, all because of the Lionsgate portal. She pulled me there. There were so many reasons why I should not have ended up where I did, but I did. I will go as far as sharing with you that moment in that temple saved my fucking life. It saved my life because Sekhmet was showing me where I was being really harsh with myself, where I was holding myself back. And as painful and as awful as it was, she showed me what I was doing. She made it worse and showed me how much worse it could be for me to be able to rise out of it. And I've never had dark thoughts like I had before that moment again. I've never ever, because I know that there is a energy and a being that is far greater than any of us can ever understand, that it's always around us. What I experienced in that temple, what I saw with my own eyes, I don't care what anyone says, what I saw was true and it's real. She was there in front of me, ripping my heart out of my chest, drawing blood and showing me what I was capable of. And I would never be the same again, ever. So some other myths and truths about the 8th of the 8th. Obviously I shared about the Great Pyramids, but this is a time when your voice, your message, your medicine gets louder if you let it. So it's not just the sky. Like, it's your timeline. You might be standing in something now that you asked for a year ago. It is so important. So what are some rituals that you can do for the Lionsgate portal? I would encourage you to spend some time alone, journaling, maybe a sunrise walk, maybe getting barefoot out in the land, spending some time alone, journaling. What am I ready to release? Because there's got to be a release for you to step into this next version of yourself. And this Lionsgate portal is open for business, but you've got to make a sacrifice. You can't just go in saying, I want this and this. The goddess wants to know what you're willing to sacrifice to get it. There has to be a sacrifice. You've got to sacrifice an old version of yourself. Perhaps it's sacrificing laying in bed. You've got to start getting up earlier. Perhaps it's sacrificing going straight home after work, and it's going to the gym. Perhaps you want to be a healthier version of you. Perhaps it's sacrificing the comfort of the job that you're in and quitting the job to go all in on a project that you've been really feeling called to do. There's got to be a sacrifice along the way. You have to sacrifice something to be able to step into this new version, and that's what the Lionsgate portal is asking you. It's open for business, but you've got to show what you are ready to release to be able to step into the next version of you. And I felt so powerful in that temple that day once I come out and I realised what had happened. But the power of just understanding that there is a greater force out there, and 8th of the 8th is there to really open that up in you. Workshop on the 8th of the 8th if you're local to Barnsley and you want to come and join me in ritual, where we will speak more about the Lionsgate portal, harness some energy, talk about what we're going to release. We're going to do some releasing rituals and then be ready to manifest at 8 p.m. on the 8th of the 8th. I am offering the workbook and meditation online. That is also available. Everything is in the show notes for you to be able to get involved. Drop me a DM on Instagram. Ask me some questions. It is a sliding scale. Pay what you feel. I believe this should be available to everyone. So anything between £11 and £44 you can pay. If you can't afford that at the moment, drop me a message and you still want the workbook and the meditation, let me know. It is so important that I get this message out there that the Lionsgate portal is not fucking about. Like, it is really time for you to step up and own this and really learn what it is. And I'm so excited for you to do so, because in a year's time, you literally do not knows what's going to happen. You may manifest something, this Lionsgate portal, and then you may end up in a temple in Egypt, barefoot, in ritual, staring into the face of a goddess that you didn't even know existed 7 months previous, who you've been told isn't real, but you can literally see her in front of your eyes. For you to be able to completely change your life and step into this new version, and everything that's bad, that's crumbled away, that happened to you 7 months before suddenly makes sense, and you see why you were put through such absolute torture to be able to experience what you experienced, to be able to step into the next version of yourself. Like, that is what I hope is true for you. I hope that you get to experience that by really stepping into your power on the 8th of the 8th. I'm going to put some journal prompts into the show notes as well. Where have you been silencing your power? What version of you are you ready to meet? And if you do any little rituals, any little meditations, you call anything in, you pull any cards, you experience anything, I would love to know. Please do just drop me a message. Let me know what it is that you've experienced. Let me know if you're noticing any energy shifts. Perhaps you're feeling your intuition is speaking even higher. I want to hear it all. Come and let me know. Drop into the DMs. Like, this is a powerful time and we're all going to get to experience it together. And yeah, I can't wait to hear back from you. And just a little reminder that you can join us in the Sunrise and Ritual Club if you are local to Barnsley. If you're not, please still join the Sunrise and Ritual broadcast channel on Instagram. Again, it's in the show notes, so you don't miss a thing. I will be posting rituals in there for you to do on a weekly basis. And remember, it's not about doing it all, it's about remembering who the fuck you are. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in to Wild, Hot and Healing. If today stirred something in you, I'd love it if you subscribed, left a review, or shared it with someone who really needs this energy right now. And if you're ready to go deeper into your body, your strength and your healing, you can find out more about my wellness community, Empower Her Health and Fitness, and how to work with me at my website. You can also join my email list for rituals, resources, and podcast extras that I don't share anywhere else. All the links are waiting for you in the show notes. So until next time, stay wild, stay hot, and keep